Mack is director of football operations at Oklahoma State. He has been director of football operations of the year. Back, I want to say 2013 or 14, I think Football Scoop named him that. He could be that every year. He does such a great job. And coached as at NEO, defensive back coach for one of their national championships, and has coached a lot of different places. Has also won the Merv Johnson Integrity and Coaching Award here in the state of Oklahoma, and generally is just, like I said, the master of the itinerary and scheduling, and joins us now. How's it going?
Good, Robert. Just looking out the window here and, doing the office work at home and just trying to stay on top of everything.
Yeah, and that's the thing for what you do. And again, we'd be in, Oklahoma State would be in spring football right now, and you'd be, planning for this weekend would have been, the big weekend with the Legends and the spring game or the spring extravaganza. It probably wouldn't have been a game. I think Coach Gundy was playing on a scrimmage practice, something like that. But and then after that, you'd be starting to plan, in earnest for the season next year and for the trips. That's kind of what I wanted to get in with you first, Mac. This is an even year, and recently, even years have been easier years for travel. You play OU next year in state as a road game, and then after that, it's a couple of trips to Kansas and a couple of trips to North Texas. That's sure a lot easier than hitting Corvallis and West Virginia and Ames, Iowa, and Austin and Lubbock all in the same year.
No doubt. The even years, we have that road trip to Norman, which takes away one of the flights that you have to plan and schedule, and certainly affects the money you spend on those types of trips. But it's we've already been to did all the pre-planning there. Some of it occurs in late November, and then we do it again in January. So we've already taken care of all those hotels and the buses and all those kind of things. So just a matter of making sure that we play those games.
Yeah, and again, there's nothing any of us can do about that. I think, and right now it kind of depends who you talk to, what they think is in the future. The other thing that I'm always impressed with is fall camp is almost a month of activity. You're the guy who puts the itinerary together. I know there's a lot of people involved in the scheduling and what's going on there, but I know a lot of people in football around the country that have in their filing cabinet Mack Butler itineraries, because there's a lot of people around the country that use your work as their example, because they cross every T, they dot every I, every phone number's included. The military doesn't nail it down like Mack Butler.
I don't know about that, but I do have a little bit, back in the day, I have a little military background, and everything has to occur to be successful at the right time, and everybody's got to be on the same page. It's one of those things too that if something would happen, then somebody could take that and move on, and no one would skip a beat. They wouldn't worry about where I was. Is everything ready to go?
But you know what? And I know this from being around administrators on trips as well as coaches, even the players. It's a comforting sight, I think, when you land in some place like what's the little place we land in West Virginia? Is it I want to say Charleston, Clarksburg. And they bring the stairwell over and open up the plane door, and you get out, and there's Max standing there waiting to tell you which bus to get on. That's a comforting sight. You're in the right place.
Well, I don't know if that's a comforting sight or not. That would depend upon the vision you have, I guess. But it's I like standing there. I always tell the story that there's a lot of operations guys that send young assistants and young GAs or whatever to the arrival site and have them get everything ready. But there's a comforting factor for me to to be there, have my eyes on the buses and the hotels, and everybody hear my voice that, hey, the plane's coming, and we have people in Stillwater that can help get the team on the Marty Sargent. Gosh, he's the best there is, and you've got Rod and Marty and Danielle and everybody that's involved here in Stillwater. So when they land, it's everything's there. You know, one of my worst fears, and years ago, the gate to the ramp where we take the buses on to meet the plane, there was no one there to get the gate open. So then you sit on the plane and you have to and there are security issues. You have to make sure you do the protocol, and no one wanted to open the gate. You know, were we supposed to open the gate for that plane? So I don't want that to ever happen, and, you know, that's always a fear. I want everything to be like it is. It's just, you know, we always talk it's a business trip, so we want those players and coaches and everybody that's on the plane that's there for the weekend to do a job, to worry about that job and not worry about what is entailed with it, that there could be a problem.
Yeah, one of the cool things too is last year I was in Corvallis early, and I kind of hung out with Mack, and so I got to see a little. I went out with him to the airport in Eugene for the arrival. I've seen how you interact with, with the escorts, the motorcycle law enforcement escorts. Those are always fun, whether it's a bowl trip or a road trip. And those guys up in Oregon were pretty cool. And then I've seen you interact with people like Susan Coyle, used to be the cabin captain for the United flights. We've got, I can't think of the young lady's name now, but you end up making a whole lot of friends outside of football, just with the people you interact with on these trips and making the plans.
Well, I want them to feel comfortable that when we arrive, we have our players, and they've been so many nice things that are said about our players, and compliments how they act, and that's a reflection on Coach Gundy and what he requests of our players as far as making sure that we don't trash the plane. And that young lady's name is Stephanie Lex now, that travels with
Stephanie.
us. Yep. And so we want all those people to understand we want them to do their job, and we're there to try to make sure that it's not any more difficult than it should be, and that we're there to get a job done.
All right, you should take this as a compliment. The triple play texters that text in questions to the show. You're one of the few guests that's got advanced. When I said we were going to get Mack Butler on, I started getting advanced texts. All right, one of the TPTers wants to know, how do you pick out a hotel? Well, I mean, because people do that themselves for their families on vacations, and businesses do it to pick out places they're going to stay on business trips. He wanted to know what Mack Butler does to pick out a good hotel for the team.
Well, so whoever that is probably needs to have a manual. I have a manual, about a 30-page manual that Charles Hewitt, who is our nutritionist, he helps me put together. But in that manual, which I send ahead of time to all prospective hotels, what is required by our football team in relationship to menus and what kind of how many doubles, locations on floors. I'd like to see a floor plan, how many kings are located on each floor and how many doubles are on that floor, what kind of suite accommodations, rollaways, how many elevators. We go through all the keys. Sometimes the keys become an issue, because if you put the keys next to a cell phone, the key won't work. So we have, what's packets available. So anyway, but we we plan way ahead. One of the things that's good about that over maybe a vacation is that it's pretty well set. Hey, we're going to show up basically at about this time, and we need to make sure we have this ready. And so, yeah, but having a vacation with kids and wives and rental cars and all that kind of stuff, that's a challenge for parents and all the adults out there listening.
Yeah, I mean, and you're not necessarily looking to see if there's an inside the hotel water park or anything like that. That's not necessarily on your list.
Well, I know this that if you're going on a vacation, you've got children, then yes,
Yeah.
that becomes a priority. And how about some particular types of hotels now, and they have free breakfast. And
Oh yeah.
golly, now I mean, children love to go down and hit the where they can make their own waffles and
Oh yeah.
that kind of stuff. That's a neat deal, and that's a budget issue if you're working on budget. Because that breakfast is included, and you wouldn't have to worry about going someplace and getting that and bringing it back to the family. So, yeah, that's an item that I know that you talk to our managers and trainers, and I know that it doesn't work all the time with us, but sometimes there'll be hotels that have a complimentary breakfast, and our managers and trainers, they get up early and spend a lot of time getting everything ready for the team, but they enjoy having that breakfast available for them without too much expense involved on them.
Yeah, and that's an NEO deal. NEO looks for the free breakfast for their road trips. So that's a Zach Allen deal. All right.
Yeah, well, hey, that Zach's got it going on. He understands the dollar figures of what's required at an institution like NEO, and
Yeah.
That place has had so many good football players run through there, and Zach's doing a great job. So the tradition lives at the Golden Norseman.
Well, TPT 150 Arlington Cowboy says, "Good morning, Mr. Butler. This was actually for last Friday, a week ago Friday. I appreciate everything you do for OSU athletics. I have two questions. One, describe the preparation of travel arrangements, i.e., hotel, airfare, bus. That we could be here for a couple of hours on that."
Oh yes, yeah, we could. And again, the manual and my conversations, and I think you mentioned a little bit about getting to know the area, but there's a relationship you build with those hotels and certainly with United, who is our flight carrier or the carrier that carries us on flights, and they're outstanding. And and they might be a little more expensive than some of your and again, I've been around all of this in my career,
Yeah.
but sometimes the national carrier provides you, if there's an issue with the plane, they're able to get one a lot quicker because of their fleet. Now, there are some other flight carriers and some people that use that, and some institutions use those because they're a little bit cheaper, but they also don't have as many airplanes in their fleet. And if there's an issue, then you don't want to get on one that's not ready. I mean, that always worries me, and that's why I like to see that thing land and take off and everything's good. So yeah, there's a lot to it. Again, the manual, whoever those people are, they can see. I've always got a copy with me on the road, so if they ever wanted to look at it, but that way there's no doubt. And I know that people talk about me, but I think if you're a hotel or if you're the flight carrier, or if you're the bus company, or if you're the escort, the more details, every one of them will say it to each individual. They'll say that the more detail they have, the better they can execute their job. So I leave no doubt. I mean, I want it on there where, again, it's exactly we want this and we want it this way. And if they know ahead of time, they're okay with it. It's when you pop things on them, 30 minutes and say, hey, can we change this? That's when it gets a little bit scary. But again, if you've done your homework they know that that's not the intent, and I've probably already spoken to them about possible changes, and so they're okay with it.
All right, second question from Arlington Cowboy. We'll wrap it up with this. This isn't easy either. What is the best hotel the football team has stayed at? I'm. You know what? I don't remember the name of it, but for beauty, that place we stayed at in Tucson for the Arizona game, that was pretty impressive place. But we've been to some great places on the bowl week, bowl trips, and so in your opinion may be smooth and operation. But what's the best hotel you feel like the team has stayed at?
Well, I'll get in trouble if people hear this, and but let's just we'll just have a little conversation about this. But we're very fortunate in Stillwater, Oklahoma, to have where the team stays on home games,
Atherton,
and
yeah,
and
Atherton.
that's the Atherton Hotel. And golly, Josh and Monica, and gosh, the food at the Union and the people that manage that, they do a great job understanding that they're feeding and accommodating the Cowboys. So I'm going to put them number one because they bend over backwards to make sure that we have. And boy, if any Cowboy fans haven't stayed there and haven't seen how nice the hotel is and the Union, and they're missing something. They need to make a weekend stay at that because it is a nice place. So if you go around and you think about that, here I am. We're even years, so we play at TCU this year, and we stay at a Renaissance downtown
Nice.
Fort Worth, and it is extremely nice. It's a big time hotel, and they do a great job of, and a lot of times the hotels that have the space make it really comfortable because you don't have to worry about, you got big bodies and ballrooms and those kind of things, and you're able to spread out, walk through areas. And so I put it right up there at the top. I'm going to not say any of them are the best. I'll say that Atherton's one just because I'm partial. But, oh my goodness, the Embassy Suites in Norman, which when you go down that I-35 going south and to pull in there on that game weekend, that you're always concerned about the people that are in the hotel and not any that are associated with our team. And when we stay there, they're always very, very non-committal as to who they're for. And that's good to know. They're kind and appreciative for us being there, and they should be because we drop some change for that stay, but they do a great job. And that's 20. Now there's lots of them that maybe don't have the facilities, but one of the places on the on the odd number year, if we go back and look at some of those hotels,
Yeah.
yep. Just real quick, golly, let's see. There's some that you don't have any choice, and it's really challenging. And so the odd year is difficult. Now there's no doubt about it. That's there's not a lot of options, but you've got some hotels there where the Ankeny.
Yeah,
And
it's a nice place.
that's a Marriott Courtyard, and they've got a little ballroom. We take the entire hotel. They have 118 rooms, and this last year we had 116 of them. They had 2 guests that stayed over, and we had to accommodate the managers and trainers at another hotel property that was just down the road. But they do a great job, and we're 20 minutes from Ames, and that's a lot better than it used to be when we had to stay in Des Moines and you had a 45-minute trip on back roads, and there have been some harrowing experiences with that trip. So, yeah, those places are good.
Well, Mac, I appreciate it. Again, best to you and Jackie. And I know this. I think about Jesse a lot because he wants to be out there playing ball, and I hate the fact the kids, their youth sports, are interrupted with this. But hey, we got to do what we got to do.
Well, And real quick now, at the Butler house here on the east side, we've got a pitcher's mound, we've got a hitting net, and back in the old days, we used to have put a little basket up, and Mack Butler in Fairfax, Oklahoma, we used to throw a baseball and hit a cement wall, and that's where, because we didn't have anybody to play catch with me, so that's where I threw. So we got that set up over there. We've got a little time that, hey, this is a designated exercise time, and I got to make sure he stays out there. So those red dirt guys out there listening know that he's trying to stay in shape.
There you go. There you go. Hey, Mac, I appreciate it. Take care.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Mac Butler, again, Director of Football Operations for Oklahoma State.